investigated properly. Our search dog has been through the building a second time to make sure that there's nobody else that's trapped in there. We also understand from the owner of the construction company that everybody, all of his workers are accounted for. That's where we sit at this point. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Geldhart.
Okay. So that's the update from Fire and Emergency Medical Services. We are pulling the information, but we are early in pulling the information from DCRA on all that we have here. We have the director here, Ernest Chapel, to answer some of your questions. But realize, folks, that we are literally 2 hours from this incident happening. So a lot of information needs to get pulled. We're early in this, so you're going to get as much as we can from them right now, and I'm sure there'll be follow-up after that. So, Ernest.
Thank you. We currently have an inspector on site looking at the construction debris and any other facts that we can gather. We are concerned about the health and safety of residents and people in the community. We are digging up a lot of information to see what happened here. And at this time, what we know is who the owner of the property is, Ralph Kennedy LLC and 10 Square Development. There are permits on file, and we'll continue digging to see the history of complaints or any issues that may have been raised to our attention.
Director, we're hearing from neighbors that there had been complaints made very recently about this site. What can you tell us? What have you found? Are there complaints on site? How recent are they? What were they? Had an inspector been out in response to those complaints?
There's very limited information that I have right now. We are continuing to look into the history of complaints. What we do know is that there was one complaint about a crane blocking the alley, but the inspector came out, and when the time the inspector came out here, the crane was gone. So that's what we know, and as we find more information, we'll make it available to you.
Mr. Director, for example, this thing was in the process of being constructed. Is that correct? I mean, it was not completed.
It was an active construction site.
So are the buildings, like, say, less stable if they're in a storm like this than they would be, I guess, if they were completed?
No, at this point, we can't comment on that. That would be pure speculation.
Yeah. So buildings are supposed to be able to withstand storms no matter what stage they're in.
Buildings are supposed and are designed to stand a lot of external pressures.
I see. Okay.
Sir, based on what you've seen so far, what you know, are there any immediate concerns?
We are concerned about the health and safety of residents and the broader community. That is our number one focus right now.
What are the possible
any information on what started this or how the collapse began?
No information.
Director, this is less than a mile away from where that 9-year-old died in that fire. That, you know, there was several code violations. Was this property owned by the same owners?
The owner information that I shared earlier was Ralph Street LLC and 10 Square Development.
Does this development company have any other buildings currently under construction in the district?
I don't know that information. We'll have to check and get back to you.
What are the possible actions here pending after the outcome of your investigation?
It runs the gamut, but at this time it's premature to comment on any action. Our focus now remains on the health and safety of our residents and also ensuring that that site back there is secure.
Director, after we saw the pedestrian bridge come down, we saw DDOT go out and do a flurry of inspections. Can we expect DCRA to ramp up inspections, do more inspections of buildings like this? I mean, there's one right across the street from here. Neighbors certainly are concerned. Will you be doing any inspections of other properties as a result of this?
We provide inspection services to district residents at no cost when it comes to complaints, and we'll continue to do so. When it comes to construction inspections, there are pathways for that as well. So we'll continue focusing on our core services and how to deliver them better for residents and business owners.
Will this construction continue or is it done after this?
That you have to ask the building owner what they want to do with their investment.
So they're responsible with taking down the rest of the record sheet?
A property owner will always be responsible for maintaining and dealing with all the issues that come up during the construction project.
So do you know how long the investigation might take before they're allowed to go in and take it down?
No, I don't have that information, Andy.
Chief, is it possible to talk to one of your men who was inside, one of the heroes who helped bring this guy out?
Absolutely. We'll make members of the rescue squad available. They're doing a hot wash now, which is what they do after any significant event, to talk through the things that work, lessons they learn. So they'll be available to come talk to you. I think our people coordinate that.
So, Chief, basically what happened? You said that the person was trapped, I guess you said, with, 4 stories of debris on top of him. Is that?
It's 3 stories of debris. So what happened is what we call a pancake collapse. The layers came down together. There's also something called a lean-to collapse in part of it, where one end is lower than the other and it's supported against the building next door. So what they had to do to get to the person was use chainsaws and manual labor, electric saws, pry bars to work their way through. They also used their specialized search devices, their search cam, so they could look into the holes in the rubble. Ultimately, the person was trapped in a space by a beam that left him about 8 inches of space around him, and they were able to cut a way to get to him through that. The dog was able to locate him when the dog got here and run through exactly where he was to help pinpoint the search area.
How lucky is this guy that he survived this?
We've seen these before where the people didn't, so he was definitely blessed today.
Chief, did he say anything to you? What, if anything, did he say as soon as he was pulled out?
So he was talking to the crews. I'm not privy to that conversation.
How critical is timing in this? How fast did you guys get to him?
So in trauma, we talk about the golden hour, which is an hour from the time the incident happens to the time a person enters the operating room. It took us an hour and a half from the time the incident happened to get him out. I think that is a very, very fast extrication given this type of situation, the complicated efforts, the weather we faced when we got here. I'm extremely happy with our response. So I think it was good, but timing always matters, so he was very lucky.
And Chief, there were a couple of other people that I guess you all helped. Tell us a little bit about them, the first two.
So we did transport 4 other people to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, a lesser seriousness than the man who was extricated. They should be fine, but they're going to need to be checked at the hospital.
Did you all have to rescue them, as it were, or?
So some of them we didn't need to remove debris, but they were being rescued by co-workers and our ladders when they got here.
Could you remind me, Chief, you said non-life-threatening injuries, but are we talking about cuts, pulled ribs?
So I don't know the details, right? There's no obvious thing I could say that it was this. He's got non-life-threatening injuries. He's got system trauma. He was just trapped under 3 stories of a building. He's going to need a really good trauma assessment by very good surgeons to make sure they've got everything right.
And for the record, if I could just do one more question, do you happen to know what's the specific address of this building right here for the record? Do you know?
It's 916 Kennedy Street.
916.
Chief, there's a lot of construction in D.C.
Yes, sir.
Are you all doing this a lot?
No, not really. We do have some problems occasionally, but no, we're not doing this a lot. Is there another question over here?
Biggest challenge, did you run through that, or was this like a walk in the park for you guys at this point in your careers?
Well, I'd like to say it was a walk in the park, but no, this is what our teams train for every day. This is what our technical rescue teams do. They're supported by the other companies. It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. We use some regional training and equipment to do this as well. So it's not a walk in the park, but it is something that we do, and we do very well, as I think you can see.
Who assisted you? You said regional.
Yeah. What was that?
Who assisted you? You said regional.
So regionally, we have some regional projects that buy some of the equipment that we do grants on.
So it wasn't
things
like other fire departments?
No, we train with others. We did use some mutual aid during this call to cover our stations.
Okay.
Did you get to talk to the man's family at all?
I did not know. I think his co-workers were. This is what I understand.
Does this wreckage get cleared out of here in the next few hours, or do you have to take more measurements, or what happens?
So DCRA is going to oversee that with the building owner. Once we deem the property safe and it's not going to cause any more damage to anything, the removal process will have to be coordinated. We'll let that go with other people, and we'll be here as long as it takes to make sure it's safe.
So you're still deeming it safe right now?
We're not deeming it safe yet.
All right, so you're right.
No.
And you took the dog through the other structures on each side, nothing found, obviously.
So there's only one structure attached on the far side, and that one has been through by people. We didn't need to walk through it. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So first gentleman, just due to HIPAA, we're unfortunately cannot speak directly to any of the injuries the individual has. Yeah. So just I just want to make sure I give you background. Thank you. Can I ask her? Sorry, can you guys step back, please?
Can I come through here? Pardon me. Thank you so much.
I saw that going down. So I'm thinking I don't know if you're
I want to put my access phone number in my phone book in case they call, so I know. Oh yeah, don't take that. Every once in a while, sorry, these phones are about buttons. It's just like I'm very, very
I'm just getting myself
Normally I bring my SLR, but it was raining.
We're at the top of the 6 with nuts and bolts.
Photograph buses and trains.